I'm Brandon Clark, a reporter with Shaw Local Media. I'm here with Alan Przysucha, who's running for Alderman at Large for the Sterling City Council in the upcoming April elections. Alan, why don't you tell the viewers at home a little about yourself?
So, my name's Alan Przysucha, and like Brandon said, I'm running for Alderman at Large in Sterling. I'm 47. I've lived in Sterling for 28 years, but I've been a Sauk Valley resident since 1985. I'm married to my wife, Kim. We've been married for 25 years. I also have a 24-year-old son named Ethan and an 18-year-old daughter named Caitlin. Very active in the community. I do sit on the City Planning Commission currently, and I'm a Rotarian. I've been a Rotarian since 2016, and I was a member of Twin City Sunrise Rotary, and I'm a former 4-time president for them. I now am on the Sterling Noon Rotary. I'm also the area governor for Rotary for the district. That includes Dixon, Sterling, Rock Falls, and Morrison. I'm also on the board of directors for the Whiteside County United Way, and I'm a member of the Sauk Valley Chamber, and I'm also a member of the Sterling Township Youth Committee and co-founder of the Elevate Youth Center.
So, Alan, what do you think are the top issues facing the city, and how do you propose to address them?
So I think the three big ones are our homeless situation. I don't really have a good way to fix it, but we've got to be able to help out the PADS homeless shelter, get them fully staffed, fully funded, because they're definitely in trouble over there. And then by doing that, then trying to figure out maybe by the different lots or the different houses that the city is buying, find a way to rehab those or build something at a minimal cost to help supplement what the pad shelter is doing. We can't just expect to pass the no public camping ordinance and them not have anywhere to go. I understand why the ordinance was passed, but I believe that you got to have a plan before you put something into action. And by them not having someplace to go, they're kind of just left in limbo. Well, we can't be here. Where else are we going to go? The next thing would be the funding of the police and the fire departments. I know the city just passed, or I'm sorry, they're voting on trying to buy a new fire truck, which is great. But one fire truck doesn't solve the problem. They need equipment. They need other apparatus. The police department needs things as well. We've got to be able to fund that, and a big part of that would be solved by the safety tax. I'm a proponent of the safety tax. Sterling and Rock Falls already pay the taxes through their property taxes, so we wouldn't necessarily be paying more in property taxes. But the nice thing is, all the other or everybody that comes into the county and the people in the county would be paying sales tax towards that rather than more property taxes. If it doesn't go through, the towns that would least benefit from a tax, like Prophetstown, Tampico, Morrison, all the other towns in Whiteside County, would then have to come up with that, and some of them might not be able to, and then they're going to have to raise taxes. So even though we're still paying our fair share, we need everybody to pay their fair share, and by doing that, that would free up the property taxes that we're paying, and we could put that towards the fire department or the police department or whatever the city needs to benefit the citizens of Sterling. And the third one, I would say, sorry, I need to reference my notes. Mm-hmm. The third one I would say would be the continued investment into the repair of the roads and the riverfront. I know people are impatient when it comes to the roads, but people need to understand things are getting done every year. It might not be, we can't repair all the roads at once. The money just isn't there. Roads are more expensive to fix. But I know Second Street's going to be started here. I think the roadsides go out next week, if I remember correctly. Actually, I think it might be a couple weeks. But Second Street's going to be started, which is a big problem if you've ever driven on Second Street, which most people have. But there's other repairs that are slated that will help. Like I said, we can't just fix all the roads at once, unfortunately, as much as I would love to be able to, but you got to be able to do it fiscally responsibly and do it in pieces rather than all at once.
Yeah, and you're quite right. You can't do all those things at once, and you can't solve all of these problems at once, and sometimes not even in the span of a single year or a few years. Which would lead me to my next question. If you had to pick one of these issues as a top issue, that if you knew we could only take care of one of them, which one would you opt to support being that one issue, and why?
My biggest issue would be the support of the fire department and the police department, because they don't have the equipment and they have to respond to multiple fires or just a larger scale fire. They're not going to be able to help the citizens. And at the end of the day, the safety of our citizens is what's important. And if they don't have what they need to respond to that, I mean, anything could happen at that point. And so I think we definitely need to take care of those things first to make sure that they're able to do what they need to do at any given situation.
Okay. And you had mentioned the riverfront, which actually leads me into my next question. So, I've written on this for quite some time now, and, reading a lot in the comments section, it seems that the citizens are kind of divided on, their support for the city's continued investment into the development of the riverfront. What's your opinion on that? Do you support that, and why or why not?
I do support it. Sterling's a great community. We have a lot to offer. One things I don't like about Sterling though is when you're coming off the interstate, coming through Rock Falls, you're coming across the bridge and you see the Lawrence Building, you see the National Building. I've got them on different sides. They're horrible to look at, and that is a horrible first impression of coming into Sterling. And when you have manufacturers like Wall, or you got Halo, or even the hospital or the schools, and they're bringing people in potentially to hire, and they see that's a big turnoff to people. And so I know nobody likes to spend money, and I don't like to spend money either, but when you look at Rock Falls Riverfront, you look at Dixon's Riverfront, they're really nice riverfronts, and you see, especially, well, no, both of them, you see, during prom and homecoming season, everybody's flocking down there for their pictures. Rock Falls holds their events down there, so does Dixon. With the plans that they've got for the Sterling Riverfront, I think that's going to be a go-to destination as well. And with what the developers are trying to go for, it's only going to benefit Sterling. If we can get that hotel in over at the Lawrence Building, that's going to get us the motel hotel tax that we currently don't get. That's going to help pay for more roads and other improvements. Any retail space, any living spaces, all of that will benefit Sterling. And not only are we bringing those in, we're bringing in more tax dollars as far as sales are concerned and stuff like that, but you're beautifying the riverfront, and the river should be something that we should be just exploiting as much as possible when it comes to tourism and just something to brag about. I mean, you hear all the time about the Dixon Riverfront, and rightfully so. That Dixon Riverfront's amazing.
Yeah.
We can have just as amazing riverfront, and getting there. You have growing pains when it comes to that. But the nice thing is, I do know, just sitting on the Riverfront Commission presentations, that the first 2 phases are funded, which is great, by donations, not by public funds and grants. And Diana Meridian, our mayor, she was just down in Springfield yesterday for the Riverfront, I forget what it's called, the Riverfront
Commission?
Riverfront, they're lobbying for us down there.
Oh, yeah, the River's Edge tax designation.
Correct, thank you. And that went on to the next level unanimously, Diana reported. So that's great news. So that's up to $50 million, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
That will go towards paying for the riverfront. So there's not a lot of public funds that are going to be necessary to pay for this stuff, which is great. That ultimately, I'm willing to pay for it, but not exuberant amounts, and I'm sure everybody in Sterling are kind of on that same boat. Unfortunately, everything's getting more expensive, so you got to tighten that wallet.
So, Alan, another highly contested issue in Sterling is the city's proposed rental housing code and inspection program. What's your stance on it?
So, I do think there needs to be a program. I do believe that maybe, I know that, Amanda's been working on this for a very long time. But I do feel like, just in what I've read and what I've heard, that there seems to be a little bit of a rush now to get it done. I don't know, I'm not quite sure what the sense of urgency is for that all of a sudden. And I hate to say all of a sudden, because she has been working on it for a very long time. But the way it's written right now, it just seems a little incomplete. And I know at the last city council meeting, they said we can go back and amend what we need to. And I understand that, and that's what amendments are for. But it'd be nice to get it as close to right as possible the first time around, so we don't have to continue to amend things like that. I also think that it's a program that I don't know if we necessarily need to charge for. I know that even if they do charge for it, that's not really going to cover the employee and stuff like that. So I kind of see it as maybe have the program, but maybe as a need arises for it. If a problem property arises, then we can start doing some inspections at that point, and hopefully catch it early enough that it doesn't get to those hoarding situations, or just you've seen some of those pictures of just how bad the situations the tenants are living in. I do see that as, yes, it's a landlord problem, but it's more of a tenant problem. The landlord's not going in there dumping their garbage in these units, or getting the toilets clogged, or not doing dishes. A lot of that is because of the tenant, and the tenant's got to take more responsibility for that. And on top of that, I rented before I owned my house. If I didn't have a problem, I didn't call my landlord. So I know when I rented for 3 years, I maybe saw my landlord once at my unit, and that was just because he was at the next door unit, not because I had a problem. So if the tenants aren't reporting problems, the landlord isn't they're just going to think everything's good and great, I've got a great tenant, and then 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is later, they show up to a hoarding situation, and that's not good for anybody. Of course, I hate the thought of somebody living in that type of situation, but the tenant does have to take some accountability for that, if not a majority of it. So that being said, I do think that Sterling, the Sauk Valley as a whole, has got great landlords. I've been fortunate to have, in the past, really good landlords. I do think there's more good landlords than bad landlords. So the thought of putting these landlords through a program that might not necessarily be the right thing for their properties, even though you've got to do it across the board, it does seem like you're punishing the majority of the good landlords for what a few bad landlords have done. I know with the fire a few years ago, and in that situation, nobody wants to see somebody lose their life in a bad situation. It's unfortunate that happened in Sterling. It's probably what's prompted a lot of this, but I do think that we just need to put a little bit more thought into it before we just try to pass it.